What is it about her? Was it a strange celestial event?
Expert Eyes Shadow. Maybelline.
Do you remember these beauty products from the 1990s? They were found on every vanity and women everywhere swore by them. Hello lovelies, my name is Laura and I'm here to talk about some of the most popular beauty products from the 1990s. If you're like me, you probably remember seeing these items in your mom's bathroom or on your favorite actress's vanity. These products were everywhere and women all over swore by their results. Thank you MyHeritage DNA for sponsoring this video. MyHeritage is the #1 family history and DNA service in Europe and makes exploring your family history easier than ever. In addition to DNA testing, MyHeritage offers a platform that makes it easy to build your family tree and research your family history. MyHeritage is committed to its privacy policy to never sell or license your genetic data. You are the sole owner of your DNA data. And the MyHeritage DNA test kit. It is easy to use. A simple cheek swab takes about 2 minutes on each side, helps you discover your origins and find new relatives, covers more regions than any other DNA test. And your DNA results will reveal ethnicity estimate, a percentage breakdown of your origins across 42 supported ethnicities, and 2,000 geographic regions. DNA matches new relatives based on shared DNA. And it will be interesting to find out more about my family, and I have a feeling most of my genetic DNA will be from Germany, as my dad was born in Germany and immigrated to Canada after World War II. My mom's side of the family is also German because her mother was born in Germany, so let's find out once I get my DNA back to see what it is. So let's jump in and have a look. This is my first time seeing it, so I'm going to share it with you. So I am 53.1% English, 23.9% Balkan, and 18% East European, and 5% Finnish. And that was interesting, and I've actually been getting some DNA matches, and I found out about some new relatives that I wasn't aware of, and they are first cousins once removed and an aunt of mine who live in Germany. So I sent her a message. Her name is Carmen, and I'm trying to figure out exactly like how she's my aunt because my dad is not aware of this. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. I'll keep you updated, and I'm really excited and curious about these new family members. If you want to try a MyHeritage DNA and buy the kit with the link below, and make sure you use the coupon code Laura for free shipping. And as an added bonus, you can start a 30-day free trial of MyHeritage's best subscription for family history research and enjoy a 50% discount if you decide to continue it. And use the code Laura, and I'll link everything below. And I think it's a really interesting service, and I just loved finding out that I have apparently long lots of relatives of first cousins. So this is very interesting to me, and I really want to find out, and I sent the lady a message, so I'll keep you posted. All right, let's jump right back into the video. The 1990s marked a period of incredible social and economic change in America. It started off with a flourishing economy that encouraged an increase in consumer buying and spending, but ended with the dot-com bubble crash. The 1990s also put an end to the Cold War, one of the country's most significant foreign policy challenges since World War II. On top of all of this, President Bill Clinton was at the helm, leading Americans through the 1990s during politically tumultuous times, with intense debates surrounding healthcare, gun control, immigration reform, and welfare reform. Through it all, America emerged at the end of this decade as a more prosperous nation than ever before. The 1990s were a turning point for American pop culture. In the span of just a few years, we saw the rise of grunge music, the popularity of rap and hip-hop, and the explosion of alternative rock. It was a time of great change and new new beginnings. Of course, not everything was perfect in the 1990s. There's plenty of violence and crime, and many people struggled with addiction and poverty. But overall, it was a decade of great progress and change, and it all started with the pop culture. The 1990s saw an unprecedented revolution take place in Hollywood. Film production significantly increased, and the movie industry was forever changed by a myriad of innovations, from the introduction of computer-generated special effects to revolutionary new cinematography techniques. This decade marked a golden age for Hollywood. Some of the most iconic films ever made were produced in this era, creating powerful stories and captivating audiences around the world. From Titanic to Forrest Gump and The Matrix, 1990s Hollywood saw some of cinema's greatest successes. The 1990s were a golden age for Hollywood's female movie stars. The likes of Julia Roberts, Meg Ryan, and Sandra Bullock graced the silver screen and captivated audiences around the world. These women weren't just pretty faces, they had talent and charisma in spades. They could make you laugh, make you cry, and everything in between. Simply put, they were the total package. The 1990s were a special time for Hollywood, and these women helped make it that way. They'll always be remembered as some of the most talented and beloved movie stars of all time. The 1990s were a pivotal decade for culture, entertainment, music, and the beauty business as we know it. And I feel like my favorite movies are from the 1990s. When I look back, I feel like it was a really good decade for film. They also included some memorable makeup looks and beauty trends in the 1990s. Here are the most popular beauty trends from the 90s, from a matte face and smudge eye makeup to Winona Ryder's pixie cut and Alicia Silverstone's sky blue nail polish. The culture in the 1990s, awe-inspiring films on a scale we have never seen before arrived in the 90s. With over 1.8 billion in global sales, Titanic became one of the most profitable films ever. And I feel like when I think of my youth and the 90s, I think of Titanic and Clueless. Another 90s movie with a successful run at the box office was Jurassic Park. Everyone has seen this movie, and it's definitely a cult classic. And I swear, I saw Jurassic Park a few times in the theater, and I really feel like it holds up today. And other classics include Pulp Fiction, the movie Seven, 12 Monkeys, and Natural Born Killers. As other cult classic films, both the violence and the special effect in movies from the 1990s were completely over the top. With the advent of realistic looking computer animations, films like Toy Story and A Bug's Life promise to forever alter the way we watch animated films. The capacity of sitcoms to address social concerns in a single episode was one of the factors that made the series so outstanding and helped them sustain their popularity into the 1990s. And the best sitcoms of the 90s were Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and of course Friends and Seinfeld, which I binged all of these in the 90s. And good skincare was the new fad of the 90s. In the 1990s, skincare only grew in importance and popularity, and the majority of people had some type of skincare routine, even if it was just using soap and drugstore moisturizer. In-depth interviews with physicians and estheticians for magazine beauty pieces led to the common understanding that proper skincare was essential. Alpha hydroxy acids, retinol, and scrubs have gained enormous popularity as a result of their quick and obvious skin brightening effects. Astringents also developed into common acne remedies, and magazines like Vogue frequently featured dermatologists who advise using them on patients with greasy, acne-prone skin and enlarged pores. In 1996, skincare businesses started focusing more on enzymes and vitamins by rapidly dissolving the dead cells and getting rid of the need for a larger concentration of AHAs. Enzymes offer a somewhat different exfoliating activity than typical AHAs. Vitamin C and E, which are antioxidants, also became well known in the 90s, along with enzymes as therapies for hyperpigmentation and uneven skin tone. God, I don't even know how people lived before this. Like, everyone must have just had completely discolored skin with acne scars, because I feel like those are regular things in my skincare routine. Unfortunately, the 1990s were not exempt from the advent of the tanning mania. However, this time around, tanning booths rather than tanning sunbeds were the popular choice. Sadly, because harm always takes time to manifest, we are already witnessing an upsurge in skin cancer as a result of the excessive tanning in the 90s. Teenage females who used tanning beds in the 1990s are to blame for the recent uptick in cancers. On the plus side though, this fixation with tanness prompted manufacturers to produce superior self-tanning goods and more adaptable bronzers. Jergens Natural Glow self-tanning lotion was developed in the 90s and is still in demand today. I swear I remember using self-tanners in the 90s because I wasn't a fan of the tanning beds, and they were pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I had like orange skin and it smelled terrible. I feel like self tanners are way better now, but I kind of just opted for the pale look and accepted that I'm just gonna be pale. The DIY skincare trend of the 1990s included using chamomile tea, rose water, and green tea to soothe and hydrate the skin. Elizabeth Arden Dove White Beauty Bars, Neutrogena Foaming Face Wash, Oil of Olay All Day Moisturizer, Biore Pore Strips, and St. Ives Apricot Scrub were the most well-liked skincare products and items of the 1990s. Thin eyebrows, matte foundation, and lined lips were the queen. Matte makeup was all the rage in the early 1990s, although glowing appearances were also valued, especially when your skin became oily and sweating after a night of partying. Matte makeup was unquestionably the norm. In the late 1990s, tinted moisturizers also started to gain popularity, allowing women who desired some coverage but not a complete face of heavy foundation. The use of powders were still popular because matte looks were the norm, much like it was in the 1980s, and blush was still not given much attention throughout the dot-com era. The only blushing you needed was a light dusting of pink or peach powder on your cheeks and a touch on the bridge of your nose. The grunge scene had a significant influence on makeup, especially in the early 90s when waterline and lash lining were dominated by thick, dark eyeliner. Early 1990s eyeshadows tended to be warm, matte browns, but the mid to late 1990s saw the emergence of a fad for dazzling white and opalescent eyeshadows that was especially well liked by teenagers and young women. And I remember having kind of pearly, shiny eyeshadow in the 90s and early 2000s. During the early 1990s, matte, brown, brick, and wine-colored lipsticks were popular, and a lip liner often darker than the lipstick was essential. By the late 1990s, things had changed, and frostier lipsticks and lip glosses were all the rage. One of the most recognizable and unforgettable characteristics of the 1990s was thin eyebrows. At least in comparison to the 1950s, 1960s, 1980s, and now, brows remained on the thin side in the late 1990s despite becoming fuller and more styled later on. In the 1990s, CoverGirl, Max Factor, Clarins, Lancome, L'Oreal, and Maybelline were amongst the most widely used cosmetic companies. Nail trends were all over the place. In the 1990s, deep, seductive nail paint hues including oxblood, plum, black, maroon, and cocoa nails were in high demand. These hues are still extremely popular today, although you typically find them included in fall or winter color palettes. Hard Candy, a company that pioneered the use of vivid and colorful nail polish, is solely responsible for the metallic and icy colors and girly pastels that were a huge manicure fad in the 90s. While a media tour for the classic film Clueless, the actress Alicia Silverstone wore Hard Candy nail polish in the color Sky, and that is when a mania about this lovely pastel tint began to spread. All kinds of nail shapes, including lengthy square extensions, short, tiny oval or square shapes, long ovals, and even ill-fitting press-ons were in style in the 90s. And the big hair, don't care trend of the 1980s gave way to a more subdued appearance in the 90s. More than ever, hair became a means of expressing uniqueness as new movements like grunge, hip-hop, and the rave culture gained popularity. Both sexes experimented with new looks that put an emphasis on fun and individuality, and because it was easier to access celebrities, which made it possible by television and the internet, models, singers, and actresses began to define the decade's beauty and hair trends. 2000s. The hairdo worn by Rachel from Friends, which is a shoulder-length cut with several layers and highlights, is a typical popular hairstyle from the 90s. Another well-known 90s hairdo is the Britney Spears stunning blunt cut that was popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. And women were also choosing Winona Ryder's cut, also known as the pixie cut, which has been a popular haircut for decades and is consistently updated with each new decade for a more elegant appearance. And last but not least, we have the timeless Cher haircut from Clueless, which flatters all face types and is ideal for people who don't like to spend a lot of time on their hair. And popular fashion trends in the 90s. Fluorescent colors on sweatpants, t-shirts, parachute pants, and jackets were among the late 1980s fashions that persisted until the early 1990s. The most often worn hues in apparel were blue, green, orange, pink, and yellow, which were frequently combined in pop art and comic book inspired patterns. Crop tops, baby doll dresses over leggings, black leather jackets with shoulder pads, colored or embroidered denim, and slouch socks with Keds or ballet flats were popular outfits for ladies. By 1994, fashion had changed to more sophisticated, form-fitting trends. Tailored skirts and pantsuits, slip dresses, hot trousers, and skirts made of satin, metallic, sequin, and vinyl fabrics were all popular. And of course, there was also the infamous preppy aesthetic, which gained popularity thanks to the films like Clueless. Plaid skirts, sweaters, slip dresses, and knee-high boots made up the modern preppy aesthetic, and I swear I had all my Clueless outfits that I got at the Gap, and I definitely wore those in the 90s. Not to mention, as grunge bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden gained fame in the 90s, the iconic grunge style made its way into mainstream culture. Darker colored plaid flannel shirts, stonewash or torn jeans, Doc Martens and combat boots, Birkenstocks, and high-top shoes were all a part of this ensemble. Grunge style is well represented in films like Singles and Reality Bites, as well as the television program My So-Called Life. And now let's dive into 1990s beauty products. And a popular product was the pale MAC lipstick. In the 1990s, creamy matte nude lip tints like this light peach shade from MAC were very popular and were frequently worn with smudged black eyeliner. And next we have the Sun-In spray. Teenagers in the 90s who wanted to achieve a sun-kissed halo of golden highlights without dye undoubtedly turned to Sun-In, a slightly more potent alternative to squeezing lemon juice over overheated locks. This less expensive option for teenagers who argued with their parents to obtain highlights was frequently Sun-In, and the sun-kissed tresses that were promised by this bottle of lemon-scented bliss would resemble those of a California beauty who resided by the sea. Sun-In really produced blotchy highlights that were uncomfortable for brunettes, who were obviously not the product's target market. Although Sun-In is still available to purchase today, the majority of it has been discovered, but now a lot of people just opt for balayage at the salon, and I used to try Sun-In. I think my hair was just too dark, it didn't work for me, so I was one of those victims with the brunette hair that wanted the highlights. And next we have the Bath & Body Works Fine Fragrance Mist. Even if the bottles have been updated, the vintage Bath & Body Works body mist will always be associated with the 1990s style, especially the vintage aromas like warm vanilla sugar. And next we have the crimper, and those who wanted to go on a wild adventure had hair that was crimped. After all, straightened hair was just so mainstream, and I didn't use the crimper too much in the 90s, maybe early 90s, but I was definitely into the more straight hairstyle in the late 90s. And black eyeliner was super popular. Without the very blackest black eyeliner smeared to perfection, no 90s caboodle was complete. And a popular one was Baby's Got Black Pencil by Wet n Wild. And Chanel's dark vamp nail color rose to fame as a must-have cult favorite nail polish because it was worn by Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction, and it was definitely a grunge trend. It's the Urban Decay Glitter Eyeliner. Glitter eye makeup was all the rage in the 90s, including shadows, eyeliner, and everything else you could find. The products from Urban Decay were preteen's best friend, and fruity lip glosses were also popular in the 90s. Any beauty-obsessed 90s ladies definitely had a fruity flavored lip gloss in their pocket at any time, and the Clinique Noir colored lipstick was super super popular. Every tween girl's bathroom counter in the 1990s was graced by Clinique's Almost Lipstick in Black Honey, which is now making a significant comeback on TikTok. And the fluttering 3D butterfly hair clips were super popular in the 90s. A 1990s girl would use these clips in their hair to hold back their hair when she wanted to look fancy. I'm pretty sure I wore them in my grade 7 prom. I kind of like the look, to be honest. And then there is the Lip Smackers favorite lip balms that were also popular in the 80s, and I definitely had a Lip Smackers collection, and I just loved them because of all the fun flavors and colors. So they were definitely like my go-to lip balm before I even got into wearing lipstick. And another one is the Gap fragrance, and I loved Gap perfumes in the 90s. In the 90s, the acid wash denim wasn't the only reason to venture into Gap. Chances are you were also on the hunt for the retailer's signature and nuanced scent that is still around, and that one is the Gap Dream, I believe. I think that's the one I had in the 90s, but I swear I looked on the Gap website recently and I couldn't find anything. Also in the 1990s that was popular was the Neutrogena facial cleansing bar, and I believe I had this as well as the face wash. Neutrogena has become an iconic name today when it comes to skincare products. Its story is one of determination and deep commitment to providing people with the best possible skin solutions for their skin. Neutrogena was first developed in 1930 with a chemist named Emmanuel, and he started making cosmetic products out of his home lab in LA. His sole focus was on creating high quality soap that could improve the appearance and feel of one's skin. Neutrogena soon gained traction across the United States, establishing itself as a trusted name for its gentle yet effective solution for acne, blemishes, and redness of the skin. Neutrogena's effortless approach to skincare continues to be celebrated worldwide today, more than 90 years after its inception, and Jennifer Aniston used this product in the 1990s, and Jennifer's beauty routine is a mix of high and low. The actress told Forbes in 2015 that her skincare routine is actually quite simple. She continued, "It's pretty much the same routine I've had for a long time since I'm a creature of habit." She says she washes her face with her Neutrogena facial cleansing bar, and then she usually uses toner and whatever toner of the month she says she's using, and a serum depending on her favorite serum of the time. And also in the 90s, everyone remembered Herbal Essences shampoo, and I wish I could go back in time and try the original one. And let's start with the shampoo whose advertisement in the 90s was so obscene that if your parents were around, you probably turned the TV down. You've already seen the commercial, but the original Herbal Essences shampoo had a plain packing style and a variety of enticing scents. The brand had expanded significantly during the 1990s. It has kept its fans by broadening its product selection while adhering to its iconic scents that first made it famous. And I actually used Herbal Essences recently and my hair felt pretty good. And next we have Love's Baby Soft perfume, and this one was popular in the 90s as well, and it definitely had some creepy commercials. And Love's Baby Soft smelled like baby powder. It was definitely popular for younger people in the 90s. I'm more of a Clinique happy girl, that's what I used. And next we have Tommy Girl perfume. Wearing Tommy Girl perfume had an upscale appeal in the 90s. Everyone in the area was reminded that you were no longer a preteen because it was powerful enough to knock the wind out of everyone nearby. Anyone who was anyone had their hands on the scent in the 90s when Tommy Hilfiger was at the height of his prominence, and I do remember everyone wore Tommy too. You might have had it nicely displayed on your vanity or carried it around your backpack. It was in your possession either way in the 90s. And next we have Stila lip glaze, and I definitely had this. Stila lip glaze may have seemed like you were applying a lot of gooey cement. That didn't stop it from dominating the beauty world in the 90s. When Stila entered the market, they revolutionized the industry by demonstrating to consumers what a high-end line of cosmetics could look like in their makeup bag. The lip glaze collection offered a daytime finish with muted colors that promised great gloss. The only drawback was that it was difficult to cover up the audible clicking sound it made as you placed it on your pout. And next we have Teen Spirit deodorant. You would not believe that this deodorant was a crucial part of the 1990s beauty routine, but Teen Spirit was unique, and it's more unique for the retro eye-catching packaging and exciting scents like cute and girly or cool and mellow. And it might also be because the lyrics of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit were sporting an item bearing the same name at the same time, so it's kind of a combination of the two. And another popular fragrance was CK1 cologne. CK1 was the one for individuals who yearned for a more mature approach to cologne or perfume. It was popular at the time when Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein competed for audience attention. So back in the 90s, these two companies were head to head. One of the first scents to be marketed as gender neutral was CK1's unique selling feature because it was unisex, which was definitely innovative for the time. And I definitely had CK1. I actually do like that scent. It's really classic. I kind of wish I had one now, to be honest. And next we have Dep styling gel. And I definitely remember my brothers had this one. Dep hair gel came to the rescue when you wanted to keep your nicely crimped hairstyle in place. And I feel like the packaging was super fun with bright colors. And the company teamed up with Mattel to make Totally Hair Barbie. And it got cool extra points, and it had a cool travel-sized bottle of Dep styling gel and a full head of hair for creative styling included for Barbie and Ken. So that sounds amazing. I wonder if I had that Barbie. And next we have the Caboodles makeup case, and I still have one of these. And I pretty much think that everyone had a Caboodles in the 90s. They were super popular, even in the 80s. I just loved it because of the bright colors, and it was so easy to store all of your makeup, and you can put other things in it too. And you can still purchase Caboodles online. And next we have L'Oreal Kids Shampoo. I remember when this came out in the 90s, and it was a children's shampoo, but a lot of like older people and teens used it. And I just love the advertisement, and it was advertisement as a no tears effect, and the packaging was super fun and colorful, and it had a really good scent to it as well. And next is the Noxzema cleansing cream, and this was also popular in the 80s, but everyone used Noxzema in the 90s. There's tons of commercials on TV, and it was used as a way to treat acne, and that's what it was marketed towards. And it definitely has that really nice strong aroma, and I think I used it. I just feel like it was a popular scent in the 90s. And Jared Leto was a brand spokesperson in the 90s. And next we have Maybelline Wet Shine nail polish, and it's difficult to say whether Maybelline Wet Shine nail polish originated in the 2000s or the 90s, but since it's no longer available, we can safely assume it dates from a long time ago. And the nail polish line was introduced as a method to avoid going to the salon, and promised to give nails a wet look immediately after application for a full 7 days. Having at least one was essential because the formula was excellent and the color selections felt limitless. And everyone remembers the St. Ives Apricot scrub of the 90s, which is a timeless product. And this one, I'm pretty sure I owned it too, and it definitely exfoliates your skin. I've heard that there was definitely a scandal with it too, with the apricot bits actually like cutting people's skin. It's definitely rough. I don't think I could use it nowadays, to be honest, but it definitely is a nostalgic product from the 90s. And the 1990s was a time of nostalgia and discovery for beauty. From shimmering eyeshadows and daring lip liners to foundation with an unparalleled touch of coverage, the decade's products were essential in completing the looks of glamour gurus everywhere. Whatever look you choose, there was something you could find on every vanity. Whether it's that classic red lipstick or a bottle of hairspray to help hold those long locks in place, these 1990s products have been nostalgic and timeless throughout all generations. They're proof that even after decades, classic beauty still lives within us all. And let me know in the comments below which 1990s products that you used in the 90s, and if you use any of these today, and also let me know if there's any other ones that I'm missing. All right, see you again soon, and check out my 1980s beauty video.